Okay. What's up, everybody? Good morning. Welcome to a Tuesday edition of Morning Scone, presented by Brock, the Vantage Orthopedic Clinic, HUDCO Roofing, HUDCORoofing.com, Restored Motions, RestoredMotions.com, and ProChargeEV, ProChargeEV.com. All right, y'all. Hope your Tuesday here is off to a fantastic start. Got a good workout in already. Home, ready to rock, roll, and crush the day. We'll say some good mornings here in just a quick second. I have pinned there in the chat. Excuse me, no, don't. I have HUDCO pinned in the chat. I have on the description today, Jaden Daniels, #1 overall pick. If you were listening to AFR on Monday, we talked about this. So my buddy Chris Trapasso from CBS Sports, who's a draft analyst, has his latest mock draft up and has Drake May, #1 overall. And has Jayden Daniels, #2 to the New England Patriots. Has Caleb Williams sliding to #6. And I did have a chance to talk to Chris Trapasso on Monday. So if you want to go check out that convo, you can on demand. Just search After Further Review 104.5 ESPN. It's on LSU Daily today as well, and we will have the YouTube video up on the AFR LSU YouTube channel here soon. But what was really interesting is when we were talking about Jayden Daniels, he was talking about how he's a riser and how we've seen it with guys in the past who have this meteoric rise, and then as they move throughout the draft process, they continue rising up. And he mentioned like Joe Burrow, and he mentioned several other players that were #1 overall. And I asked him the question point blank: could Jayden Daniels be the #1 overall pick? And without hesitation, he said absolutely. And I agree with him. Unless if there is a team that is completely bullish on Caleb Williams and believes Caleb Williams is a generational type talent, the real question is, does Chicago stay at 1? Remember, Carolina has the #1 pick, will have the #1 pick, but that pick was traded to Chicago as a result of the Bryce Young deal last year. So Chicago, with Justin Fields, has the #1 pick. So the question everyone's asking is, okay, is Chicago going to take a quarterback? Or if not, do they take another player, at position of need, a left tackle, wide receiver, Marvin Harrison? I don't know. Or do they trade that pick? And if there's a team that is bullish on one of those quarterbacks who go up to #1, and maybe that quarterback becomes Jayden Daniels. So it was interesting because and I asked, why did Caleb Williams drop? I mean, his statistics were still really good, but the team success wasn't there. And the explanation that that Chris gave on dropping Caleb Williams to 6, he was like, because of how he performed under pressure. When the pocket was collapsing, when he was pressured, he was not the same player this year as he was a year ago. So it was really interesting to see. Now, he did have Caleb Williams going 6 to Tampa, and that would suck if you're New Orleans, because then you have Caleb Williams in your division. You'd have back-to-back #1 overall picks in your division with Bryce Young and Caleb Williams. So how those players develop obviously is a huge talking point, but we'll see. It's also of note that he had Malik Neighbors going #7, 1 pick behind Caleb Williams. Malik Neighbors #7 to the Giants. The second wide receiver taken in, Marvin Harrison going 3 to Arizona. And as for the Saints, he has the Saints picking 9 and taking Brock Bowers, tight end out of Georgia. Look, I mean, you went and you brought in Foster Moreau this offseason. You still got Juwan Johnson. You brought in Jimmy Graham. How long is he going to be? Don't know. But if you have a chance to bring in Brock Bowers, who is a true 3-down tight end, if you have a chance, put you this way, to draft Kelsey, Kittle, Gronk, if that's what you believe Bowers is, or even better than those guys, I'm good with it. I'd be good with it. Normally, would not be good with taking a tight end in the top 10, but I'd be great with that. Okay. He does have Bo Nix going 21 overall to Minnesota, which really surprises me. Anyway, Dallas turned it down at 30 surprised me as well. And no Brian Thomas Jr. in round 1. Just as a heads up. So Chris Trapasso's mock draft. I thought it was interesting. Okay, let's say some good mornings. Y'all, YouTube, do me a favor. Please smash that like button. Subscribe to the channel. Facebook, please like the Matt Moscona page. Share the post. Truax, what's good, man? How are you? David Tolson. Jayden has turned into an exceptional college quarterback. Skill set seems to translate to the next level. It'll be interesting to see how he continues to develop his game. I think one of probably the biggest difference for Jayden, we knew the running ability was there, right? Just the athleticism. He clearly worked on his deep ball accuracy. He became the best deep ball thrower in college football this year. And then the other thing is the mental game. Like Brian Kelly gave this explanation once. It was the best explanation that I've heard so far this year. Naturally, it would come from his head coach, but Brian said, there was last year, if a defense was doing something to confuse Jayden, we would typically see it on film after the game, and we'd explain it to him, blah, blah, blah. The biggest difference is this year, when he comes to the line of scrimmage, he knows what he's looking at, and if they throw him something different, they'll correct it on the sideline. The next drive, he's got to figure it out. And when you know what a defense is doing when you come to the line of scrimmage, it's just a huge advantage, because then you're not confused. Just go execute your offense, your throws. So anyway, all right. Bubba Smith, Paul Herbert, Craig Duga. Hey, Dad, good morning. Craig said, Willie the Kid is back, baby. McNeese is a basketball school now. Okay. I did not know McNeese played basketball last night, but yes, I'm sure they did great. Will Wade is a great coach, as we all knew. Jim Arsenault. We should have never gotten rid of T-Pair. Debbie Jenkins, good morning. Are you calling Will Wade T-Pair because he's shaped like a pear? Brad David, what's up? Pat Huseman, good morning. Wendell Norman, Christian, good morning. Jeff Hawk, good morning. James McKinney, Jonathan Martin, Gundam, William Moore, Ricky Lambert, Big Easy 09. Good to see y'all, man. Thanks for being here. Royce Pierce, Damon Gilmore. Jason H. Matt, did you get a chance to hit up District 1 shoe store? I did not, Jason, unfortunately. One of the, on the short list of regrets, things I did not get to do while I was there. So wanted to, just didn't work out. Mostly because Saturday I spent much of the afternoon before our Heisman show walking around Chinatown trying to find Terrio fake Rolex. Matt Plavidal, good morning. Let's see, can't believe football season is done, almost ready for baseball season. I think it was best said, it might have been T-Bob who said this, the days are long, but the season is short. And that's a very appropriate way to describe football season. We work a lot during football season. And they are long days, but you blink and the season is over. So, yeah, man. Baseball will be getting underway soon. After the new year, they'll start practice and then, start the season in February. But in the meantime, still a lot to do. LSU's got 15 bowl practices to prepare for Wisconsin, but more so, I think, this isn't a unique thought, but the most important part of the bowl game now certainly is the 15 practices. It's basically like a second spring practice. You get 15 practices and a bowl game. So nobody really cares about the bowl game anymore with respect to the season, but you should care about the bowl game now because of the opportunity for a lot of players to get 15 more practices, to play another game, get your freshmen some work, guys that are going to step into starting roles as veterans leave for the draft. That's really the benefit. Leon Williams, Chandler Watts, LSU, retired 9, 72, 5, and 3. Yeah. I think all those, that's Burrow, Glenn Dorsey, Jayden Daniels, Kevin Falk. I agree. Taylor Hudson, Gundam, Saints not drafting Jayden Daniels is a crime. I'm saying this again. I don't know that the Saints are going to have the option or the opportunity to draft Jayden Daniels. And I know that every LSU fan wants to see LSU guys end up with the Saints. We have this conversation every year. It doesn't always work because you don't know what the Saints internally view as their biggest need is there and what type of draft grade they have on players. And at the time they're drafting, what position they're drafting and how their board looks, does it always correlate with an LSU player? Now, I've said this before and I'll say it again so there is no confusion. I would love to see Jayden Daniels as a New Orleans Saint. But I would love to see the Saints take any quarterback in round one just to show that you're trying to draft your franchise because they've done it once in their history. And I don't believe they're going to do it this year. And if you're a Saints fan or an LSU fan, hoping that the Saints draft Jayden Daniels, I would put that at like a 2% possibility. Number one, because the Saints have paid Derek Carr a lot of money. I don't think they're taking a quarterback in round one. And also, I don't think Jayden Daniels is going to be on the board when the Saints pick. So I do not think that that's going to happen. So to say it's a crime if the Saints don't draft Jayden Daniels, I don't see how you could think that's a crime. Like, I don't even know that they're going to have the opportunity to draft Jayden Daniels. Jacob Thompson, good morning. Leon Williams, Matt, is there anything we could do to eat the money with Carr and draft Daniels? No. Ransom Antoine, morning, Matt. Saints move up for reaches, we hope. If they're in a position for a quarterback, they trade up, right? Again, if they want a quarterback, I don't believe they're going to draft a quarterback. So to the question about Carr's contract, you could, like, you're not going to eat Derek Carr's contract. If you cut Derek Carr after this season, your dead cap hit next year is $52.8 million, meaning he would count $52.8 million against your salary cap and not be on the team. So Derek Carr is going to be back in New Orleans next year, period. You need to accept that fact. There is no scenario that I can see unfold where Derek Carr, I mean, unless if he just retires, which I don't think it's going to happen, but I cannot see a scenario where Derek Carr isn't in New Orleans next year. I know that's a double negative, but you understand what I'm trying to say. You could eat $17 million in 2025, but really the off-ramp for the contract comes after the 25 season. But no, Derek Carr will be back in New Orleans next year. Nobody's going to trade for him and take that contract. Like, why would you, right? If the Saints cut him, like if he's on the roster, his cap hit is $35.7 million. If you cut him or trade him, his dead cap number is $52.8 million. So like it would cost you $17 million more for Derek Carr to not be on your roster. Does that make sense? His cap hit if he's on the roster is 35.7. His dead cap number, meaning if he's not on your roster, it costs you 52.8. So Derek Carr is going to be on the Saints roster next year, period. You've got to accept that fact. Now, do you use a first-round pick on a quarterback? Or do you use a first-round pick on someone to help your $150 million investment be better? Do you draft a left tackle? Do you draft a wide receiver? Do you draft Brock Bowers? Like, that's the prism the Saints are going to be looking through. I'm just trying to be realistic, y'all, because I don't want draft day to come along and the Saints draft Brock Bowers or a left tackle or something like that, a receiver, and everyone throw their hands in the air and say, why didn't they draft a quarterback? They're not going to draft a quarterback. They're not. It would be a massive upset if they drafted a quarterback this year. Next year, I think that's more of a possibility. If Carr falls on his face again, then yes, you could cut Derek Carr and draft a quarterback. Brian Wynn, Saint for life. Let's see. Alex Van Leeuwen. Matt, natty prediction? I think this is going to surprise people. Everybody's just sold on Bama. I watched Bama stink all year by their standard. Played a great game against Georgia. I'm curious if Michigan will be able to move the ball against Bama. But I don't think Bama's going to have a ton of success offensively against Michigan. I could definitely see Michigan winning that game. And I like Washington over Texas too. Like sometimes you just know how to win. I think we're headed for like I know that everyone is wanting to see Bama Texas. I think everyone's going to be predicting Bama Texas. I think we're headed for Michigan Washington. I'll make an official pick later, but yeah. Leon Williams, I'd rather Daniel slip a little to a team with some pieces instead of being put in a position like Bryce Young. If Brock Bowers is available for us, it's no brainer. Remember, Bryce Young didn't go to a terrible team. I know that's counterintuitive considering how their season's going, but Carolina traded up to number 1. They weren't the worst team in the NFL last year. The Panthers were 7-10. The Panthers had the same exact record as the New Orleans Saints did. Think about that. And their defense has, despite injuries, been okay. They've got to get they got to get Bryce Young help. I mean, they traded DJ Moore. They traded Christian McCaffrey. So he went to an offense they brought in Adam Thielen. They got Terrace Marshall. I mean, you could look and say you think they have some weapons. They brought in Miles Sanders, right? It just hasn't worked out at all. So you've already fired Frank Reich, but Carolina wasn't a terrible team. They were 7-10 a year ago, same record as the Saints. Beat the Saints twice. Thomas Lamont, whoever the Bears take, will be forever compared to Bryce Young because of the year swap first pick. Would be interesting if it's Daniels. The interesting thing about the Bears is, and in that mock draft that we referenced, Chris Trapasso has the Bears taking Drake May number 1. I'm not saying this is how an NFL team should look at it, but how do you ignore the fact that so Bears fans, media, team, whatever, all think this. They are the team that passed on Patrick Mahomes to draft Mitchell Trubisky. Now Mahomes went 10th, and Trubisky wasn't the only quarterback in that draft. But that's how Bears fans look at it. They passed on Mahomes to draft Trubisky. Could they really pass on Caleb Williams, who many compare to Mahomes, to draft another big, strong-arm quarterback from North Carolina in Drake May? I don't know. Trav 504, good morning. Abner Neal, good morning, Matt. Any movement on the coaching at LSU? They're still recruiting. Sorry, listening for Drew's backpack. And I think there is I believe there will be at least 2 defensive staff changes. It may take a minute before we learn what they are. And I said at least 2. At least 2. And I think they're going to be well received. Louis Tangi, the Saints would be wise to take this golden opportunity to get a new coach, let him choose from like 5 great looking quarterbacks in the draft. We got players we can trade to move into the top 5. It's time. You actually don't have players you can trade. That's the really disappointing part. Maybe the only player you could trade would be Chris Olave. That would have value. Do you want to trade Chris Olave? And best receiver and draft a quarterback without your best receiver. So, but no, you don't actually have players you can trade. The problem that one of the giant problems the Saints have is you have a whole bunch of contracts that are not tradable. As a result of all the restructuring you've done over the years, it makes these contracts unmovable, immovable. So, no, you don't have players you can trade. You could trade future draft picks. So, so what about Lattimore? So, the Saints signed Lattimore to a 5-year, $97.6 million contract. Lattimore, in 2024, if you traded Marshawn Lattimore, he would carry a $31.2 million dead cap number. His salary cap hit next year is 25.6. So you would eat $31.2 million to not have your best cornerback on the team. There's no way. That is the problem with the way the Saints have done all these deals. When you continue to shuffle money like that, and push deals into future years, and that's not what happened with Lattimore, by the way. They haven't restructured his yet, but they probably will after the season to get back into cap compliance. He will be a restructured candidate, but you're certainly not going to eat $30+ million with Lattimore. Mr. Jones, good morning. Saint for life. Giants are a much better team than the Panthers. Saints not winning this game. Giants played well last night. It'd be interesting to see how DeVito plays, if he continues to play. Let's see, if sales continue to dwindle, would Saints front office fire Dennis Allen? No, listen, you have to remember, ticket sales are by and large done before the season ever kicks off because you have season ticket holders, right? So that money is already in the bank. And then the NFL television revenue is split equally among the 32 teams. So no, it's not, that's not anything that really matters. Now, if your actual attendance drops, then things like concession and parking and all that stuff, all that ancillary revenue goes down. But no, that's not enough alone to fire a coach. Devin Johnson, Chris P., good morning. Mickey Loomis getting an award after the Saints beat the Panthers wasn't a good look. It wasn't an award. They gave him the game ball because it was his 200th win, and I think that's fine. Official Friday, be fair. What's going on? I'd rather neighbors on the Saints. I would rather the Saints not draft another wide receiver. I would rather them fix their offensive line because it's atrocious. Mr. Quashire Rose, good morning. Leon Williams, when will we get Lattimore and Thomas back? Maybe not this year. Thomas probably not. Weston Weaver, official Friday. Who would you prefer for the Saints job after they fire Allen? I've said it. I would go with a young offensive assistant. I know they kicked the tires on Eric Bieniemy a couple of years ago. I'd be fine running that back, but I would look at who is the next Mike McDaniel, who is the Sean McVay, the NFL is a copycat league, and it is an offensive-minded league, and young offensive-minded coaches are in vogue, and you have a retread defensive coach, and typically when something doesn't work, you do the opposite. So instead of a retread defensive coach, give me an offensive-minded head coach. Merrick Mathern, will Dennis Allen be back next year? Merrick, I think it depends on how these next 4 games go. If the Saints go 3-1, win the division, and go to the playoffs, then yeah, I think he's back. If they go 1-3 or 2-2, then I think it's decidedly less certain. Pammy Whammy, get the man a better OC. I'm for it, but I'll also remind you, Pammy Whammy, that this is year 10 for Derek Carr. It hasn't mattered who the head coach of the OC is. He is the same guy. You have a large enough sample size to know who Derek Carr is. He is a mediocre at best quarterback. He stat compiles when his team is down. He is not a guy that makes winning plays. This is not a personal attack on Derek Carr. It's just what he is through a 10-year sample as a quarterback in the NFL. You've got a decade of evidence. What more do you need? It's not Pete Carmichael. Does Pete Carmichael stink? Yes. If Kyle Shanahan were the offensive coordinator in New Orleans, are they a top 5 offense? No. Maybe Shanahan. He did go to the Super Bowl with Jimmy G, but they had a great defense. Gregory Gordy, great to see you and Bo survived NYC, LOL. Saints might purposely not draft a quarterback just to show the fans they don't care what they want. Trav, I don't mean to be disrespectful, but that's really not a smart mentality. Like, that's just not. No NFL team is going to use its draft capital and spend millions of dollars just to spite its fans. That just is not a real thing. They all want the same thing. They all want to win. If the Saints don't draft a quarterback, it's not going to be because they're trying to spite their fan base. If they don't draft a quarterback, it's because they've invested $100 million in Derek Carr, and they're trying to get a return on that investment. Brett DeGrow, what's going on? Neville Lewis, Brad David, do you think Bo Nix will be a good NFL player? He has the potential to be, but man, you've really got to be able to throw accurately vertically, and I just don't see that from Bo Nix. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm proven wrong. Maybe it's just a product of the offense he's running at Oregon. But all of the things we've talked about with Bo Nix, with the way they run their offense, which is timing, short screen, quick pass, like, he runs that offense very well. I don't know if that translates to the NFL, though. Anyway. Okay. It's 8 o'clock. I got to get Drew up. Got to get him ready for school. Skip, what's up, dude? Josh DeVilliers, hearing Nolan and Dominic McKinley are in the mix with LSU. Been having a lot of in-house visits. That'd be great. Awesome defensive lineman. Would love to get him. Scott Fields, Quentin Brakebill, Rocky Killian, good morning, y'all. Anything deeper going on with the Carl McCoy episode? No. Rocky, if you missed it, had a chance yesterday to talk to John Stinchcomb, former Saints offensive lineman. He gave some great perspective on it. We'll get that on the After Further Review Saints YouTube channel here today to check that out. Christian Geiger, what's up? Vernell Thomas, good morning. All right, y'all, I got to get going. My apologies if I missed you. Thanks for being here. Please smash that like button. Subscribe up to the channel. Facebook, like the page, share the post. As always, shout out to Brock. You need an orthopedist? They're the best. Baton Rouge Orthopedic Clinic. And, of course, Hudco Roofing, HudcoRoofing.com. Do business with someone you know. Click the Hudco link right there, pinned in the chat, and we'd love to give you that free, no-obligation roofing inspection. Hudco Roofing, HudcoRoofing.com. Okay, y'all have an awesome day. We'll see you for AFR3. Peace.